Welcome, friends. It's time again to the Eve Consciousness TV show, our weekly show that's entitled You Create Your World. Now, today I'm joined by two returning guests. It's my honor and privilege to say that we have Risaria Langley. Risaria, thank you for coming back with us again.
Lovely to be here.
And Nomanono Isaacs. Welcome back,
Thank you.
Nomanono. Okay, these two very gifted women are bringing amazing gifts to the world. And Risaria has brought forward a book that she's brought through on what we call the law of attraction. This fits perfectly with our understanding on the show and our title, You Create Your World. So thank you. Tell us, Risaria, where can we get your book and what's the name of it?
It's called How Does It Get Even Better Than This? And that question applies whether you're being feeling positive and wanting more of the same, or whether you're feeling that this is an experience you don't want more of. So how does it get better? The publisher I'm with, Wet Zebra, they actually have a voting system. So when you hit 1,000 votes, they will bring it out in print. So you can vote for it on wetzebra.com.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Is any part of it available online to be able to see about what your conversation is?
Yes, there's a sample chapter so that you can read it and what the book's about, so you can vote. So maybe I can send you the link for that.
Oh, that would be awesome. Is it on a website so folks, I'll just promise you that we will put the link on our website, okay, the eveconsciousness.com website, and we'll put that link for you right next to this posted show. For those of you who are looking at the recorded show, then it will be right there, so that you can go online and check out Risaria's book. Thank you so much. And Nomanono, I know that you are multi-talented. You have a number of facets to you. And how is it that you are enjoying expressing yourself in the world most these days?
On a daily basis, really, I'm just like anybody else who's aspiring to feel good. And I have on my website Nomanono's Recipe for Happiness. And that's the thing that I really like to sort of like put out there, because there was a time when I was very, very angry in my life when I was growing up in South Africa. But then I learned that anger and resentment is really not a good thing for me. Happiness is the one that propelled me forward, especially forgiveness, starting with forgiveness.
Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that the truth too? Yeah.
And it's something that I was helped by my mother to actually embrace forgiveness.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so the wisdom is passed on generation to generation, because for those of you who saw last week's show, you would know that Nomanono's daughter was awarded an incredible award called the Olivier Award, the Laurence of Olivier Award, and hold this higher. And look at some of the fruits of that high frequency. She passes this wisdom and this energetic draw to her daughter. She says, "Come with me, daughter, bring it up. Let's be in forgiveness. Let's have joy. Let's be up here. Let us not suffer and continue to cause suffering for ourselves by holding this low frequency." We could lose our whole lives to suffering if we hang on to this anger. If we hang on to this unforgiveness, we continue to perpetuate the damage and the wounding and the pain to ourselves. Now it's up to us. Am I going to abuse myself because I was abused? Am I going to abuse myself because my mother was abused? Or am I going to love myself and honor my life in every moment that I have on this planet by moving to a higher level of consciousness, which is forgiveness and unconditional love? And that is freedom. And the freedom that was then passed down in consciousness to Nomanono was then that freedom and that level, I'm going to say this word, of power that comes with high frequency, power that comes with this high consciousness, true power, power from God, power from the heart, not power to overtake someone else, but power to rule our own reality. Then we have the power to create. Then we have the power to choose consciously what we intend and bring in beautiful gifts like those that are the flowers born out of the lives that you're looking at right now. And Noma Nono, we just discussed again this amazing gift, the flower that her daughter has become, and the gifts that she's bringing forward to shine out to the world that are now being honored. People are celebrating the amazing beautiful portrayal that her daughter's doing. And so this is just some of the fruits, I'm going to say, fruits of the spirit, fruits of that spirit of love, fruits of the spirit of unconditional love and forgiveness. The Christ consciousness shows up like the things that are being celebrated here outwardly in life. So our inner world moves into expression through the outer. Thank you.
That just produced a lovely image for me as you were saying that, of how in the past you had this idea of revenge being passed down through generations. Now this consciousness, this love, this unconditional love that your mother showed you, you're passing on, she passed to you and you're passing on. And it's so beautiful to see that. And I'd love to write more stories like this.
Isn't that beautiful? And
yes, that would be so nice. Yes.
you know, and the Bible speaks of the sins, okay? And when we understand sin, it is an archery term. It means we're missing the mark. We're off target. Our aim is off. So when our aim is off and we're not walking in our right alignment of who we really are, the sins, that misalignment of the forefathers, the Bible says, are passed down even to the seventh generation. Okay, 7 generations below, that misalignment can be passed, lest it be aligned, right? And so here, instead of having the sin passed down for generations, the alignment has been passed down. The Christ consciousness, the higher choice, has been passed down for generations. And Noma Nono being the example and the voice for that, of mother to daughter and mother to daughter, just carrying on and on like that. So folks, just to let you know as we close the show today, these things combine together, the polarity and the gifts of polarity, the gifts of choice, the gifts of I choose, of being able to make a decision on what to focus on, because there's multiple things to choose from, and the gift of forgiveness, of love, of Christ consciousness, which is I receive. I receive everything as it is right now. I receive the joy of this life, even when things have happened that were painful. I receive that painful event. I forgive it. I allow myself to appreciate and hold joy in the same time that these things are showing up. This opens our cup to receive. This is the gift of Christ consciousness. Unconditional love and forgiveness says, I'm not resisting what is right now. I'm not angry at what has been, because that shuts us down from the gifts that are available for us and that are available in our hearts as we hold it. When we combine them together, we have creation. That's Eve consciousness. I choose this. I love as it is right now. So I'm loving myself and my world as it is, and I'm eager for what's next. That's when we create. And that's Eve consciousness, energetic vibrational exchange. No, Manono, do you have a, yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
I just wanted to just add also that, okay, things happen in our lives, things that we see at first as really horrible and tragic, but there's always something good that comes of every situation. Every situation that we encounter is our teacher. It helps us be strong and want more, something better for us.
Thank you.
Every cloud has a silver lining.
Yes, yes. So thank you for showing us, excuse me, no mastery of being able to shift from this to this, from this to this. I have a friend who wrote a book called Just Two Choices. Two choices, the highway or the low way, the high thought or the low thought. Which thought in this moment am I going to choose? The high thought or the low thought? Which feeling am I going to inspire, the high or the low? Thank you for choosing the highway and for carrying on passing that message to others. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's why I love the Abraham Hicks phrase, always choose the better feeling thought.
There you go.
Yes.
Choose
Yes.
the better feeling thought. So a little choked up for a minute. So folks, I just want to thank you for joining us again this week. Let you know that this and every week's show is going to be available on YouTube. This is the Eve Consciousness TV You Create Your World show with Dr. Leslie. Again, I want to thank Risaria Langley and also Nominono. I'm sorry,
Isaacs.
Nominono Isaacs for being with me today. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week. We say goodbye today in love and reminding you that you are never alone. You are loved and all is well. Be blessed and walk sacred. In the UK, which is obviously recognized globally. It's a very, very high honor. And her daughter received this for Best Supporting Actress and gave a speech to the world that really, really honored and acknowledged her mother. So this being passed mother to daughter, mother to daughter. And I just love how that wisdom is being passed through. And then the fruits of that wisdom are becoming very obvious to the world as we see the heart-moving story. You guys, if you didn't see it, then check it out. Go onto YouTube and look at last week's show with Nominono, where she's telling the story of her own family and their move from South Africa to the UK, actually as refugees. And her daughter is attesting to the amazing success that has come through, even from what some would see as very challenged beginnings, okay? And let her be a testimony that all things are possible, no matter what it looks like on the outside. Her mother and her mother's mother have passed down generation to generation these tools and gifts for creating your own life. And what a beautiful creation Noma has brought through, that actually it ends up with her shining through the front pages of the newspapers, at least in the UK and beyond, in a golden dress that's just emitting beautiful golden light. Okay, so just receive that, even the knowledge and the inspiration of that story. Just receive it into your life now. I'd like to just acknowledge as well, No, you're talking about the gift of forgiveness and how your mother passed on to you the ability to let go of that resentment and anger, especially when we feel like we have been victimized, when we feel like we don't have power, when we feel disempowered and like others have wronged us in some way. I think it's one of the greatest human challenges to be able to actually forgive. And of course, in the story of Eve consciousness, we're the third stage of consciousness evolution. The first stage being polarity consciousness, which is represented by the Old Testament. And let me just acknowledge that in the Old Testament and in pure polarity consciousness, things were set up on a structure that was kind of about revenge, right? We got even. We didn't forgive, we got even. An eye for an eye is the law of the Old Testament. And you know what else? God's will was stone them to death. So if they mess up and they break the rules, we pick up stones and bash them until they're dead. Okay, that was the Old Testament way. Yes. Yeah, no,
Can I just say,
sure.
On that, the forgiveness that my mother helped me to embrace is because of an incident that had happened to her on her way home. Two white boys in South Africa, as she walked past their house, set an Alsatian dog onto her. Oh. And as she screamed, they started calling her names and laughing. And then that's the thing that made me so angry and so resentful and so basically hating the system. I already hated the system, but it just like, at that point, I'm saying this from my heart. I ended up hating everybody who was white in South Africa because of that incident.
Okay.
It was at that point when my mother realized that just how angry and resentful I had become. She kept saying to me, please forgive them, my daughter, please forgive them. Because nobody wants their mother to be treated like dirt. So it was that my mother told me, because it was like, at that time I didn't understand what she was saying because I was consumed with anger and hatred. But later, within 2 years after she said that, that really everything changed. I had this joy and happiness in my life because, you see, that's when I realized that happiness and anger don't reside in one place. They're two opposing emotions. You can't have happiness and have anger and resentment at the same time. No. And that's what happened. When I was very, very happy doing something that I enjoyed, teaching children how to sing and enjoying the singing and playing around with the children in school, that's when all the anger and resentment just left me. That's when I remembered my mother's words, please forgive them, my daughter, please forgive them. Because I had already just went. I didn't have anything to be resentful for. I mean, didn't hate any white people anymore, because I realized that was just like, it's that dark period I went through. Everyone, all of us are different. All of us, we've got beautiful colors we are the beautiful colors of the rainbow. We're like the flowers that grow up in different colors and live in harmony. Blue, white, red, yellow. You see all the colors of the flowers. Why can't we live like the flowers that grow together so beautifully?
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story, Nominono. It certainly hits home in a deep way when you express that. Now, in a moment, I would love for you to share a little bit of what you can remember about the transition. I want to get a little bit more into that transition between that deeply embedded anger and bitterness and forgiveness. Surely there's a few steps in between. Like, how does that happen? I'd want to get into that in just a moment. But for the listeners, for our audience, I want to point out here, folks, that what Nominono is describing is the crossover between the consciousness of polarity consciousness, which is that blame and resentment. And what you want is revenge. You want revenge. I want to hurt them. In fact, it's that polarity impulse that makes us want to go, okay, where's the stone? I'm going to stone them to death because that feels right to me. That's justice right there. That's polarity consciousness. So that is within us, and it's in this world. The world was first started, the human journey started with this stage. And it's the same era, it's the same energy of polarity that also gives us this huge, beautiful variety of possibilities in life. It allows us to choose. It has, light versus dark, good versus bad, happiness versus sadness. All of this range in between those extremes is available because of polarity that's in this realm. We came here to experience that. And sometimes it really feels awful. Right? When injustice happens and when we don't like something that's here within these possibilities, we taste something that we want to spit out, okay? Then you know what's born from that? A new idea, a vision for something different, okay? Well, one vision might be, okay, doggone it, I want revenge, I'm picking up a stone. I've got a vision to kill that person, okay? But other visions are possible as well. At least we are inspired into a new idea that says, I don't like this. I want something better. And so in that, I'm going to say that underneath it all in Nominono, now I'm projecting here, Nominono, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that when you found that your mother was being abused in that way, you came up with a passionate, deep desire for more empowerment, for respect, for, to be treated with respect and honor instead of for your loved ones to be abused and disrespected in such a way. Would you say, did that come through?
I think at that time, because first of all, in South Africa, as a black person, I was categorized as basically a non-person, really. It didn't really matter that much.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that took over is the hatred, because I couldn't do anything, I couldn't say anything to anybody. So it was that resentment and the anger, the hatred, that stage of hating everybody who was white,
Mm-hmm.
even though the people, it was just one family, the man and his children in the house. But then because it was a helpless situation, feeling the pain for my mother, and then feeling that the situation that basically this is where we are. When my mother is crying for help, they're starting laughing at her and calling her names. And then the other thing that really got to me, I then asked my mother, I said, did their father, when he came out to take the dog away, did he apologize? And my mother said, no. That made it worse. That's when I sort of like, when you're in that dark, deep, painful, angry space, because basically it's my mother, something has been done to my mother that hadn't been done to, I took on what had been done to my mother as my own, right?
Yeah.
The energy, the pain of it all, and the helplessness of the situation. So it was the anger that was just like, and the hatred and resentment that went on inside of me. But my mother planted a seed by begging me, even though I wasn't hearing at the time. She kept, when she realized that I'd become so resentful and so angry and so hating everybody, and then she said, please forgive them, my daughter, please forgive them.
Yes.
So at that point, I thought she was crazy because of what had been happening, to ask me to forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
But soon after that, a situation happened for me where I had to leave South Africa. I went through another stuff with me and had to escape the police from South Africa. And then I went to Swaziland. It was in Swaziland where I then got to teach in a school, teaching because I qualified as a primary school teacher. That was my first profession. Then during that time, the thing that I liked most is teaching arithmetic, that's what they call arithmetic, and music, which is not instrumental, but harmonious, what do you call it? A cappella, singing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And conducting
voices.
Just the voices and training. So I was really good at training children's voices and really turning them into singing like birds. It was beautiful. So during that time of music, it reminded me of the music I grew up with up to a certain stage, up to the age of 12 in South Africa, where because my mother had a real beautiful voice. So each time I stood in front of the choir singing, I was thinking of my mother, and I was just so happy thinking about the village. Everyone was singing. There was so much happiness and so much joy before all the troubles started in South Africa. So I was thinking of this joy that my mother brought, and sometimes she would sing lullabies, and she was just making songs as we go about every night. She would come up with a song. She'd just sing, and then it was so beautiful. So it was that. And during that time, when these thoughts coming off my mother, happy, I was happy. It was just happiness. Happiness was the thing. I was so joyful and thinking about these children. And it was just one day, I don't know what happened, because I wasn't even thinking about the hatred that I had. It's when I realized that it had gone, because I had been so happy. And the thoughts, when I was thinking of my mother, I didn't think of the dog being set upon her. I thought about the happy times with my mother and the music that was going on, what she taught us, what I grew up with. So that was, then I realized, oh, wow, really, I don't have the hatred. Basically, okay, I have reached that stage when my mother said, please forgive them, because my mother had really at that point, before she asked me, she had already forgiven them. She wouldn't have asked me to forgive them if she hadn't forgiven
Yes.
everything that had happened to her.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I said,
No. Do you think that your anger helped your mother forgive them?
I think so.
I think when she could see what
I
you were
think
going
my
through.
mother saw the damage that my anger was doing to me emotionally.
Yes.
But at the same time, though, my mother was a very kind and generous person by nature.
Yeah.
Which makes it easier, even still, to be angry about her being attacked in that way. It makes it,
Yes.
yeah. So,
But she was so strong and she was so determined to just keep saying, because it's not just one day. She just kept saying this, saying this, saying this. Even though I didn't understand at the time, it just like I just ignored her for a while.
But she planted the seeds.
yes.
She did.
How beautiful is that? So I would like to point out, okay, there's a dynamic going on in the background here, you guys, with the story that you've just heard Nomonono tell. Okay, so as I said, we're starting with that impulse of polarity consciousness, which was represented by the Old Testament, that says, you know, I can't stand this, you know, and I want to get revenge. I'm angry. Okay, and then when we were ready as a human race, we were introduced to a higher consciousness. You've just heard Nomonono tell her story of shifting from a lower consciousness to a higher consciousness in herself about this scenario, about her mother and the circumstances and life itself, about other humans. So she moved from her lower consciousness, her lower polarity consciousness that was angry and felt, you know, wronged and anger, you know, usually kind of brings with a sense of I want revenge, something needs to be made right. She shifted from that lower consciousness into her mother calling her, come up, my dear, come up. Forgive them, which is a higher consciousness. That forgiveness consciousness was brought in stage 2 of the human consciousness journey, and we call it Christ consciousness. Okay, so we look at the example that's given to us in the New Testament of Jesus, you know, of an avatar, vessel of God through human form, who was a giving, you know, incredibly loving ambassador from heaven, okay, on earth, who was crucified. And so he was suffering just as Nomonono's mother was suffering. He was suffering without cause, just as Nomonono's mother was suffering without cause. Okay. And people were laughing about that. They were enjoying bringing torture to him. And as he held that perfect frequency while the suffering was happening, he held this higher consciousness of unconditional love and forgiveness while he was suffering it. That imparted to the world a high frequency of consciousness, a new high level of unconditional love emitted into the field, the atmosphere of this planet. And from there forward, we have access to this consciousness of Christ, which is forgiveness. It's a higher vibration. It's a higher consciousness. It is what was brought in that second era. And so I just thought that this story was the perfect demonstration, Nomonono, of you graduating from this lower consciousness. Your mother, who's already holding the Christ consciousness, the unconditional love, she says, you know, it's not worth it. In fact, as Jesus said on the cross, forgive them. He was telling his father, forgive them, Dad. They don't know what they're doing. This is out of ignorance. This is out of their own ignorance, because every one of us equally are souls from heaven. Every one of us are pure, perfect beings as souls. And it's from the ignorance of the mind that we act in these ways, that was coming upon Nomonono's mother. Okay, from their ignorance, she was suffering. And she, who was not in ignorance, was able to hold this higher Christ consciousness and bring forgiveness.